I'm Marcia Lehman, and I'm a Knox County Master Gardener. Today we're going to be pruning a fruiting cherry. And I can't find a graft union, so I believe that this is not a grafted tree. Once trees reach maturity, which is usually about 3 years after you've planted them, and they were in a pot or in a nursery for a couple years before that, so by the time they're 5 or 6 years old, they're what we would consider to be mature, is when you would expect them to start bearing fruit. And they bloom in the spring, so you might think that they would get pruned after flowering. But this is where fruit trees are different. Fruit trees get pruned while dormant, and part of that is to reduce the fruit load so that you can get bigger fruit rather than lots of little fruit. The general rules, as you'll find in the handout, is we always start with removing the 4 Ds. So if we pan down here towards the base, we've got a very, well, the tip is dead. So I'll remove the tag and we'll take this off as close to the trunk as possible, still protecting the branch collar. But with stone fruits, like cherries, what we want is to get it shaped like a vase. So we need to open up the center, and that means we'll be taking off this branch, which not only wants to cross through the center, but is also rubbing. And we'll do all of this with either hand pruners or loppers, both of which have already been sanitized. Again, if you look at the handout, this tree has no water sprouts, so you would start at the bottom, take off any water sprouts, clean out any rubbing or crossing branches, and then the first dormant season, after you've planted it, you would take out a central leader. Well, this tree does not have a central leader. That has already been removed. This tree has been in place about 5 years or so, so it's probably 7 or 8 years old. Then in the second dormant season, you would prune back fast-growing shoots, and we don't have a whole lot of those. In the third dormant season, we come back to prune off broken or crossing limbs, and that's kind of where we are today. And then once you've done that, every late winter, early spring, you come out and you really do a cleanup of the 4 Ds. Let me get rid of the handout and we'll get to work. The first thing I did was to remove the tag, and I'm going to set this aside, but I can tell you that the variety is called Juliet. So this is a fruiting cherry variety Juliet. And as I mentioned, we're going to start down here at the base. We have no suckers, and this is going to come off. And that's about a ½ inch in diameter, and I have just a little bit of a nub there, and that's to salvage the branch collar. Then we come up, and I'm now looking for how can I clean out the center. And I had pointed out this one that comes out across the center. You probably don't have a real good view of it. Let me see if I can pull this around. But this is the one I want to get rid of. And I'm going to come in here and again protect the branch collar and take that off. Then I'm also looking for some dead or really spindly little stuff, or little things that are just really a cleanup. Here, this is growing up in the center. We'll take that off. Again, this looks really dead. That just breaks off. The dead stuff can often be removed just with fingertips. I got a couple pruning stubs from sometime in the past. Sometimes that comes from the nursery. This wants to grow back in towards the center. Again, we want to take out anything that wants to grow back into the center. And often we end up with 4 or 5 stems coming off a main truck. This particular specimen, it comes up about 8 inches above the ground for its first branch. So its form is a little different than what I was expecting. But we'll just clean up some of this stuff that is crossing, rubbing. Even if it's little, and crossing rubbing. You want to clean that out because over time it will get bigger, and the bigger it is, the bigger wound it will make. So now here's one coming up off of this. We want to remove this because it's growing right back into the center, and when I take that off, that's gone now. So let me move around. Once you can get a good picture of that vase shape, sometimes I like to describe it as more of a bowl. It really, the center needs to be very open to get enough sunshine in there for the fruits. And here I've got two branches that were within an inch of each other, and that's just too close. Those are laterals. We need some decent distance between those. These little ones will let go for another year or so. Now here, this one coming out in front wants to curl back around. So I'm going to head this back to where it's a little straighter. Yeah, there's probably still a little more dead in here. So on this specimen, we're now up 3.5 feet, not quite 4 feet, until we have lateral branching. And now it really is just keeping it open. And generally, I would not tip much, but I'm looking at this, which is the tallest point, and at the very end, it has all this growth. Now, if we let that stay loaded with blossoms and fruit, that's going to weigh it down. So I'm going to actually make a heading cut to shorten this back to a branch node. And the question is, see, now this one isn't doing that, or isn't doing it as badly. So we'll keep that one for a year or so. But what is interesting on this one, we've got these alternating branches, and they are so close together that I'm going to take off a few of these and try and get a, here's one coming out this way, so I'll keep this one. That one comes out that way. We'll take off that one. We'll take off that one. And now we've got at least 3 or 4 inches, and in this case maybe about 5 inches between branches going in the same direction. So that's more thinning it out, because those would want to grow back in here. Just keep looking at it. Walk around, look at it from multiple sides. We're okay to let this grow back over the stone wall, but if I walk around here, I think I'll do the same thing here. This comes out that way, this way, this way. We'll take out just a couple of these to improve the spacing. And that one wants to rub and cross. I didn't see it from standing on the other side. And let me come back around. At the moment, I'm feeling pretty good about this one. But as soon as I say that, these two want to rub, so that one's going to go. Keep looking for those rubbing, crossing branches. And I think I broke that one, so we'll clean that up. But now, the one I'm wrestling with is this. And I really don't want to make that cut this year. So I think we'll salvage. I think I just changed my mind. I think I do want to take this cut this year. This one comes up at about a 45-degree angle, and then makes about a 110-degree angle, and then makes another angle. So I'm going to take that one off back here. Now that opened up the center even more. So these are all coming out. We're good. I got one more little dead thing to get here. And then I'm going to declare it finished, and my last task will be to put the tag back on it. And I'll pick a smaller branch higher up this time So again, cherries are a stone fruit. That includes, you know, all of your cherries, your peaches, your plums, nectarines that have a big pit in the middle, as opposed to your apples and pears, which get pruned completely differently. Fruit trees are kind of in a category all their own, but the stone fruits get this open vase center, and we do it while dormant to reduce the load on it so that you can get bigger fruits, probably slightly fewer fruits, but you'll end up with the same poundage. So do you want a lot of itty bitty fruits, or do you want some nice big plump fruits? That's pruning a cherry. I hope you learned something today, and we thank you for joining us.